What if one of the most expensive mistakes in your grocery cart is sitting right in the breakfast aisle, dressed up as a healthy choice? Not candy, not soda, not dessert, breakfast cereal. Because the danger of breakfast cereal is not always that it looks unhealthy. In many cases, the real problem is the exact opposite. It looks clean, balanced, wholesome, maybe even smart. It comes in a box filled with words like whole grain protein fiber natural or fortified, and that makes people feel like they are making a better decision before they ever turn the package around. That is where the trap begins. Millions of people buy cereal because it feels like one of the easiest ways to start the day. It is quick. It is familiar. It is easy for adults, easy for kids, and easy for busy households that do not want to think too hard in the morning. And the industry understands that perfectly. That is why so many cereal boxes are designed to create trust at first glance with earthy colors, grain imagery, health language, clean-looking labels, and just enough nutrition talk to make the product feel like a better choice than it may actually be. But that image can be deeply misleading, because once you get past the front of the box, some of the cereals that look the healthiest turn out to be some of the weakest values in the aisle. Too much sugar, weak ingredient quality, inflated pricing and marketing that makes you feel like you are buying wellness when you may really be buying convenience dressed up as nutrition. In this video, we are going to break down 6 types of breakfast cereals that look healthy but are not worth your money. And stay with me until the end, because I will also show you 3 better alternatives that can help you stop overpaying for breakfast products that look smart on the shelf but do not deliver nearly as much as they promise. Here is what makes breakfast cereal so different from a lot of other foods people criticize. It does not feel like junk. That is the problem. When people buy candy cookies or ice cream, they already know they are buying something indulgent. Their guard is up. But breakfast cereal lives in a very different place in the mind of the shopper. It is associated with routine mornings, family habits, and the idea of a fresh start. It feels practical, structured, even responsible. And once a product feels responsible, people stop questioning it closely. That is exactly how weak products earn long-term trust. Breakfast cereal is not usually sold as a treat. It is sold as a smart beginning to the day. It sits beside words like energy balance, nutrition, whole grain fiber, and protein. The box is often designed to look clean, informative, and reassuring. It may show grains, nuts, fruit, or natural colors. It may sound scientific enough to feel credible and simple enough to feel safe. That is where the deception begins, because the front of the box is often doing emotional work, not honest work. It is there to make you feel like the product has already passed some kind of health test before you ever read the ingredients, and most buyers never go much further than that. They see a healthy-looking design, a few nutrition claims, and a breakfast product that seems far more respectable than pastries or fast food. So they assume the decision is already made. But what no one tells you is that cereal is one of the easiest foods to make look healthy while quietly weakening the real value inside the box. A product can carry whole grain language fiber claims or protein messaging and still be overpriced, overly sweetened, or built around a formula that depends more on branding than real quality. That is why this category is so powerful. It hides behind routine. It hides behind health language. And it hides behind the fact that people are usually too busy in the morning to stop and examine what they are eating carefully. The real issue is not that people are careless. The real issue is that cereal has been normalized as a smart breakfast for so long that many buyers no longer feel the need to question it. And once that happens, even weak products can start to look like wise choices. So, before we get into the 6 breakfast cereal types you should be most careful with, you need a simple way to judge what is actually inside that box. Because what most people focus on is the image. Oats, honey, almonds, berries, whole grains, seeds, fitness language, clean design, a bowl that looks balanced, fresh, and energizing. But that image is rarely the part that tells you whether the product is actually worth buying. The real story is usually hidden in 3 places: the ingredient list, the sugar structure, and the gap between what the box suggests and what the cereal really delivers. First, look past the front of the box. This is where most buyers get trapped. A cereal can look healthy long before it proves anything. It can use earthy colors, clean fonts, grain imagery, and words like whole grain, multigrain protein fiber, or fortified to create trust almost instantly. But none of those signals on their own guarantee that the cereal is a smart buy. They only guarantee that the packaging knows what health-conscious people want to hear. That matters because cereal is one of the easiest products to design around perception. The front of the box can suggest balance, energy, and wellness, while the back of the box tells a much weaker story. Second, understand that sugar does not stop being a problem just because the cereal looks wholesome. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make in the breakfast aisle. If a cereal looks like dessert, most buyers will be cautious. But if it looks natural, crunchy, grainy, or family healthy, many people assume the sugar must be reasonable. That is exactly how weak products get a free pass, because sugar can hide behind all kinds of respectable branding. Honey sweetened, lightly sweetened, fruit blend, yogurt coated, granola clusters, real fruit taste, better for you crunch. All of that can sound harmless, but the question is not whether the sweetness has a nicer story. The question is, how much of the product's appeal depends on sweetness in the first place? If the cereal needs sweetness, coatings, syrups, flavor systems, or healthy indulgence branding to feel satisfying, then you may not be buying a genuinely strong breakfast product. You may be buying a comfort food wearing a wellness costume. Third, watch how fiber and protein are used. This is where a lot of buyers get manipulated without realizing it. Fiber and protein are important. But on cereal boxes, they are often used like shields. They draw your attention toward what sounds beneficial, so you stop asking harder questions about what else is going on. Maybe the cereal has added protein but is still overpriced for what it is. Maybe it has fiber claims but still depends heavily on sweetening and processed texture. Maybe it says whole grain, but that phrase is doing far more work than the ingredient quality itself. That is the pattern you need to watch. A few good nutrition signals do not automatically turn a weak cereal into a strong one. Sometimes they are there to redirect your attention. Fourth, read the first few ingredients like they matter, because they do. Most buyers do not need to memorize nutrition science to make better decisions. They just need to slow down and ask a better question. What is this cereal really made of? If the first few ingredients make sense, if the product feels relatively clear, and if the formula sounds like actual food instead of a carefully engineered breakfast performance, that is a better sign. But if the ingredient story feels overloaded, heavily sweetened, or strangely polished for something pretending to be simple, then you should be cautious. And finally, ask yourself one honest question. Am I buying real breakfast value, or am I buying packaging that makes me feel better about a mediocre product? Because that is often what cereal is really selling. Not just food, but reassurance, routine, the feeling that you are making a smart choice without having to think too hard in the morning. And once you understand that, the next part becomes much easier, because now you know what to look for and why some of the most healthy-looking cereals in the aisle deserve a much closer look than most people ever give them. Now, we get to the part most people are waiting for. Because once you understand how cereal is packaged, normalized, and sold as a smart breakfast, the next question becomes obvious. Which ones should you actually be most careful with? And this is where things get uncomfortable, because the cereals that create the biggest illusions are usually not the ones that look obviously unhealthy. They are the ones that look balanced, wholesome, or premium enough to win your trust before you ever examine what you are really paying for. So let's start with one of the biggest traps in the entire aisle. Number 1, granola-style cereals that look naturally healthy. This may be one of the strongest warnings on the entire list. Why? Because granola has one of the best reputations in the breakfast world. It looks rustic, natural, crunchy, grown up. It is associated with oats, nuts, seeds, and the general feeling of making a better decision. And that is exactly why so many buyers stop questioning it. Because once a cereal looks handmade, earthy, or real, people assume the value must match the image. But that is often where the disappointment begins. Many granola-style cereals rely on sweetness oils, clusters, coatings, and premium pricing to create the feeling of a healthy luxury product, even when the actual value is much weaker than the branding suggests. That is the trap. You are not just paying for oats, you are often paying for the idea of wellness, the visual language of health, and a product that feels much more virtuous than it may actually be. And once a cereal starts winning on image, buyers become far more forgiving about price and quality. If a granola cereal looks premium, sounds natural, and still leaves you wondering why it costs so much for what it really is, that is your warning sign. And if you think the biggest cereal trap is rustic branding, the next one proves that performance branding can be just as misleading. Number 2, fitness or protein cereals with strong front label claims. This category targets exactly the kind of buyer who wants to make a smarter decision. Busy adults, health-conscious shoppers, people trying to eat cleaner, people who want something fast without feeling careless, and that is what makes this category so effective. Because the moment a cereal starts using words like protein fitness fuel or high fiber, many buyers assume the product has already earned credibility. It feels functional, disciplined, better than ordinary cereal. But that impression can do far more work than the cereal itself. The real issue is not that protein or fiber are meaningless. The issue is that these claims can distract you from the bigger picture. A cereal can use performance language, add a little extra nutritional framing, and still be overpriced, overly sweetened, or built around a formula that is more about identity than value. And once the buyer feels like they are buying something for health, they become less likely to question the box carefully. That is how weak cereals hide behind strong words. If the product depends heavily on performance language to justify its price or reputation, slow down. Because you may not be buying a strong breakfast, you may be buying a stronger marketing script. And now we move into a category that sounds balanced enough to fool entire families. Number 3, honey-coated whole grain cereals. This is the type of cereal that almost always sounds safe. Whole grain, honey, crunchy, family-friendly, not too childish, not too indulgent, not too extreme. Just a normal cereal for normal households trying to make a slightly better breakfast choice. That is exactly why it works. Because this category does not need to scream health to win trust. It just needs to sound reasonable. And once something sounds reasonable, buyers stop looking too hard at how much of the product's appeal is still built around sweetness and health halo language. The phrase whole grain does a lot of emotional work here. So does honey. Together, they create the feeling that the cereal is more natural, more balanced, and more respectable than a product that uses more obvious dessert-style branding. But the question is not whether the box sounds wholesome. The question is whether the cereal is actually giving you strong ingredient value or just wrapping sweetness in a more acceptable story. That is what makes this category so deceptive. It does not look like a bad decision. It looks like a moderate one, a safe one, a sensible one. And that is often the most effective disguise of all. But if you think deception is only a problem in adult cereals, the next category shows how easily the same strategy gets repackaged for children. Number 4, kids' cereals repackaged to look more wholesome. This is one of the most frustrating categories in the aisle because it often borrows trust from parents who are trying to make better choices. Maybe the box is less cartoonish than older kids' cereals. Maybe the colors are softer. Maybe the branding feels more educational, more natural, or more family breakfast than obvious sugar cereal. Maybe it uses grain imagery, school morning language, or just enough nutrition messaging to look reassuring. And that is the point. Because once a cereal stops looking childish and starts looking parent-approved, the buyer's guard goes down. The product feels like a compromise between fun and responsibility, something the child will enjoy and the parent can feel better about. But feeling better is not the same as buying better. If the cereal still depends on sweetness, image-based trust, and emotional positioning more than clear ingredient strength, then the more wholesome packaging is not solving the problem. It is just making the product easier to justify. That is what makes this category so powerful. It does not fight against parental concern. It works with it. And once that happens, the cereal can keep many of the same weaknesses while wearing a much more trustworthy face. And now we come to a category that often sells itself through softness and lightness. Number 5, fruit-flavored or yogurt-coated cereals that pretend to be light. This category wins buyers in a very specific way. It does not usually try to feel hardcore healthy. It tries to feel gentle, fresh, bright, slightly indulgent but still acceptable, the kind of cereal someone buys when they want something enjoyable without feeling like they are making an obviously bad decision. That is the illusion, because fruit-flavored and yogurt-coated cereals often borrow trust from associations that sound lighter than they really are. Fruit sounds clean, yogurt sounds balanced, but those words can create a much healthier emotional impression than the actual product deserves. And once again, the buyer starts responding to the story instead of the substance. A cereal can feel soft, breakfast-friendly, and even better than dessert, while still relying on sweetness coatings and polished flavor design to create its appeal. And when that happens, you are often paying for a mood, not real breakfast value. That is the red flag. If the product's main strength is that it feels lighter than a more obviously sugary cereal, that does not automatically make it worth your money. Sometimes it just means the branding found a more elegant way to lower your standards. And finally, we reach one of the most expensive illusions in the cereal aisle. Number 6, expensive natural cereals with weak ingredient value. This is where lifestyle branding becomes especially dangerous, because once a cereal looks premium, natural, minimalist, and wellness coded, many buyers stop evaluating it like an ordinary supermarket product. They start treating it like a higher class of food, something cleaner, smarter, more trustworthy, simply because it looks designed for people who care. That is the trap. These cereals often use beautiful packaging, muted colors, clean fonts, and calm health language to signal quality before the ingredient list has really earned it. The price is higher, the tone is more sophisticated, the whole product feels like it belongs to a better lifestyle. And that emotional effect is powerful, because once a cereal feels premium, buyers become much more willing to overlook weak value. They stop asking whether the ingredients really justify the cost. They stop asking whether the product is substantially better than simpler, cheaper alternatives. They stop asking whether they are paying for food or for identity. That is what makes this category such a strong late-stage warning. The cereal may not look like a mistake. It may look like the smartest choice in the aisle. But if the ingredient value does not truly match the premium image, then all that elegant health branding is not proof of quality. It is proof that packaging can raise the price of an average product. So by this point, the real lesson should be clear. The most misleading cereal is not always the sweetest looking one. Sometimes it is the one that looks natural. Sometimes it is the one that looks athletic. Sometimes it is the one that feels family safe. And sometimes it is the one that looks so premium and healthy that you stop questioning whether it is worth the money at all. Now that you know which breakfast cereal types deserve the most caution, the next question becomes the one that actually matters. What should you buy instead? So after all of that, here is the question that actually matters. What should you buy instead? Because a warning only helps if it leaves you with a better path forward. And the good news is, this avoiding weak breakfast cereals does not mean you have to give up convenience. It just means you need to stop confusing healthy-looking packaging with real value. Here are 3 better alternatives worth considering. Number 1, plain oats or unsweetened muesli with simple ingredients. This is one of the strongest upgrades for people who want a breakfast that actually feels like food instead of marketing. The biggest advantage here is clarity. Plain oats and unsweetened muesli do not need to perform health theater nearly as hard because the ingredient story is usually much easier to understand from the start. That matters because a simple breakfast base gives you control. You can add fruit nuts, seeds, yogurt, or cinnamon yourself instead of paying extra for a cereal company to sweeten flavor and decorate the product for you. In many cases, you end up with better value, better flexibility, and a breakfast that feels more honest. If you want something dependable, simple, and easier to trust, this is one of the smartest places to start. Number 2, low-sugar whole grain cereals from transparent brands. For people who still want the convenience of pouring cereal into a bowl, this is probably the most realistic upgrade. The key here is not just finding a cereal that says whole grain. The key is finding a product that combines whole grain structure with lower sugar, better ingredient clarity, and less dependence on flashy front label claims. That is the difference that matters. A cereal can still be convenient without trying to impress you with fitness language, honey stories, or premium wellness branding. When the brand is more transparent and the formula feels more direct, you are much less likely to overpay for a product that only looks smart. This option works especially well for buyers who want convenience without all the illusion. Number 3, simple breakfast bases you can build yourself. This is where the smartest shift often happens. Instead of buying a fully engineered cereal experience, you build your own breakfast from simpler parts. Oats, yogurt nuts, seeds, fruit, or other basic ingredients can often give you more control over sweetness, texture, and overall value than boxed cereal ever will. And that matters because once you start building breakfast more intentionally, you stop paying for design tricks that make weak products feel premium. You stop buying reassurance in a box, and you start buying ingredients that give you more flexibility and more reason to trust what you are eating. Because in the end, the smartest breakfast is not the one with the loudest health promise. It is the one that gives you more clarity, more control, and more value for your money. So, before you put any breakfast cereal into your cart again, here is the checklist that matters most. First, check the sugar before you let the box impress you. Do not start with the front label promises. Do not start with the words whole grain protein or fiber. Start with the sugar. Because a cereal can look clean,
It
natural,
highlighted a
and
broader
balanced,
pattern of corporate
while still
behavior
depending
where
far
consumer
too
value
heavily
is
on
quietly
sweetness
eroded
to make
while
the
the packaging
product feel
stays roughly the
enjoyable.
same.
Second, read the first
Quaker
few
Oats
ingredients
itself has
like
faced
they
its
matter
own legal
because
scrutiny.
they do. You do
A
not
class
need to
action was
decode
filed
every
over
line on the
chlormequat,
box.
contamination
Just focus on
in
the
its
first
oat-based
ingredients
products,
and ask yourself
similar to the
whether
one
they
filed
sound
against
like
General
a
Mills
strong
for
breakfast
Cheerios.
foundation or a
The
product
pesticide
engineered to feel
chlormequat
healthier
chloride
than
is
it
used as a
really
growth
is.
regulator
Third,
on
be
grain
careful with
crops
health
for
halo
cultural
language.
systems,
Words
and
like
subject to the same
protein,
contamination
multigrain,
pathways.
fortified, natural, or high
General Mills
fiber
markets
can be
Cheerios
helpful
with a tagline
signals,
about being
but they
heart
can
healthy
also be used
and
to
made with
distract
whole
you
grain
from a
oats.
weak overall formula.
But when independent
A few
testing finds
positive
pesticides
claims do
and the
not
company doesn't
automatically make
disclose
the
them,
cereal worth
the gap between
price.
marketing and
Fourth,
reality
compare
becomes
the
a
price to
serious
the real
consumer
ingredient
protection
value.
issue.
Some cereals charge
So what
premium
can you do?
prices, not because
8
the food
brands,
is dramatically
3 parent
better,
companies,
but because
General
the
Mills,
branding
Kellogg's,
is better.
and Post,
If the
control the
ingredient
vast
story
majority
feels
of what you
ordinary,
see in
but
that
the
cereal
price
aisle. And when
feels
you understand
elevated,
that, you start to
that
see
is your cue
why
to
the
slow
problems
down.
keep repeating.
And finally, ask yourself one
The front is
simple
marketing,
question.
the back
Am
is
I
reality.
buying real breakfast value,
If you see
or am I
BHT,
buying a healthier looking
TBHQ, Red
version
40,
of the same
Yellow
old
5,
supermarket
Yellow 6,
illusion?
or Blue 1,
That one question
know that
alone
those
will
are
help you
ingredients
shop
that other
smarter
countries
than
have
most
decided
people
are
in the
not
cereal
safe
aisle.
enough for their populations.
So in the end, the biggest
Second,
mistake
check the
most
Environmental
people make
Working
is
Group's
assuming
food
that if
database.
a breakfast
They
cereal
score
looks
thousands
healthy,
of products on
sounds
additives that
nutritious,
these
and
companies
costs more
already
than
know
the
how to make
obvious
cleaner
sugary
products.
options, it
They
must
do it
be
for
a smarter
Canada, for
choice.
Europe, for
But now
Australia.
you know better. You know
The
that
only
clean
reason the
packaging,
American
whole
versions
grain
are
language,
different
protein
is
claims,
because
and
U.S.
wellness
regulations
branding
allow it,
can all
and
create
consumers
trust
haven't demanded
far
enough change.
faster than the product itself
Every purchasing
deserves.
decision you
And you
make
also
is
know
a
that a
vote.
cereal is not worth
Why
your
does
money
the American
just
version of
because
this
it looks
cereal
more
contain
responsible
ingredients
on the shelf.
that the same company
Real value
voluntarily
comes from
removes
clarity,
everywhere else?
ingredient quality, and a
Now, before we
breakfast
get to the
that
next
does
brand,
more than just
if
perform
this is the
health
kind
for
of
the
content
box.
that helps you make
So,
smarter
before
choices
you
at the
buy your
grocery
next
store, go ahead
cereal,
and you do the
turn it
digging so
around
you don't
and
have to
look
wade through
deeper.
FDA
And if this
databases and
video
court documents on
helped you
your
see
own.
the cereal aisle
One click
differently,
and you'll never
leave
miss
a
a
comment,
deep dive like
subscribe,
this.
and share this with someone
All
who
right,
still
let's
thinks
keep going.
healthy looking always means healthy or worth the price.